On November 8th, in Gansu province, a migrant worker filmed the harsh conditions they faced while working in northwestern China. The video showed workers resting in cool tents with only simple bedding, crowded together in makeshift dorms. As they traveled to the work site, their path was covered with mud, making it hard to walk. To cross a river without a bridge, they had to step carefully on ropes and narrow planks suspended above the water. The footage sparked strong discussion among overseas Chinese on X. One person wrote, "By the standards of a developed country, these conditions amount to forced labor." Another said, "It's heartbreaking to watch. I thought they were refugees. It might be another one of the Chinese Communist Party's vanity projects." Others commented, "China's exploitation of its own people has left many struggling to survive." And compare the income, benefits, and pensions of Gansu's government officials to these poor workers. The Communist Party is the root cause of the suffering. Such labor conditions exist across China.
兄弟们，我长这么大，我是第一次来工地上班。
Guys, I've been working for years, but this is my first time working on a construction site. I didn't expect living conditions to be so bad. They crammed so many workers into one small shelter. It's honestly chaotic. But what really gets me is, living like this, how do they feel? Is it embarrassing? Do poor people have any dignity?
Under the video, a person commented that when people can barely afford food and shelter, questions about gender boundaries lose meaning. In Zibo, Shandong province, another video showed construction site dorms made of iron pipes and wooden planks. Behind China's glittering cities is a group of people wearing simple clothes and hard hats, building skyscrapers from the ground up. These are the migrant workers. Observant viewers have noticed that many construction dormitories house both men and women. Among construction workers, there's a saying, "Women work like men, and men work like machines." This saying captures the harsh reality they face, where there's little room for compassion and the physical demands are overwhelming. In fact, many women take on workloads that are even heavier than the men's. Rural Chinese women often say that just being able to earn money is already a big win for them. They don't have the luxury to worry about much else. Renting a private room would only drive up their living costs, so most workers opt to stay in shared rooms, making do with what they have. Across China, similar cases abound, revealing one undeniable truth: the vast and growing wealth gap. How serious is it now? Data from China Merchants Bank 2024 report shows that about 25 of clients, the gold sunflower tier and above, hold over 80% of the country's bank deposits, with an average of 2.3 million yuan per household. In contrast, 97.5% of clients have an average balance of only 13,300 yuan. The 224 Huren Wealth Report shows that China has 5.1 million affluent families with net assets above 6 million yuan, 2.1 million high net worth families with assets over 10 million yuan, 130,000 ultra high net worth families with assets above 100 million yuan, and 36,000 international ultra high net worth families with assets above 200 million yuan. The top 130,000 families alone hold 58% of the nation's total wealth, up from 56% the previous year. This shows that even as China's economy declines, inequality continues to grow. On one side, there are the few ultra-wealthy individuals living lives of extreme luxury. They indulge in lavish parties, spend money recklessly, and buy designer goods and even mansions as easily as purchasing groceries. On the other side, there are millions of people struggling to survive, earning meager wages and living frugally throughout the year. Many can't afford a home, some can't even pay their children's school fees, and even more are too afraid to seek medical care when they fall ill. Worse still, some are forced to sleep under bridges as winter approaches, freezing to death in the cold. This stark contrast, which deeply stirs the conscience, is something that every Chinese person can feel vividly today. As the general public in China continues to struggle with difficult living conditions, a 23-year-old woman named Yang Lan has sparked a public outcry in a highly unexpected way. On July 27, 2025, a serious car crash occurred in Sydney's eastern suburbs. Yang was driving a Rolls-Royce worth about 7 million yuan when she collided with a Mercedes-Benz, severely injuring the other driver. She was arrested on the spot for refusing a breathalyzer test, and her lawyer quickly posted a 370 million yuan bail. Yang's luxurious lifestyle stunned the public. 2 Rolls-Royces, a Sydney penthouse with ocean views, limited edition Hermes handbags, and a collection of Chanel couture. Yet reporters found no trace of her online, no social media, no business records, no property listings, no LinkedIn, and no education background. It's as if her identity had been erased. The more people searched for information about Yang Lanlan, the more they found themselves confronted by the presence of China's privileged elite. Behind her appeared a powerful network of protection, an intricate invisibility mechanism unique to the elites. This system works through layers of concealment, cutting off all publicly traceable connections, ensuring that the true source remains untouched. For the first time, people could clearly see that for the privileged, the Chinese Communist Party system acts as an all-encompassing safeguard, providing full protection through top-tier public relations, legal and diplomatic resources, even for illegal overseas activities. There have been rumors circulating that Yang Lanlan is either the great-granddaughter of former Chinese President Yang Shen-kun or the illegitimate daughter of Xi Jinping's brother, Xi Yuanping, with the Xi family allegedly controlling Australia's mineral resources. Whether these rumors are true or not, the model of family business with hidden wealth overseas and digital invisibility has become the standard for the children of many fallen officials. Yang Lanlan is just the tip of the iceberg. On one side are the extreme wealth of people like Yang, on the other, the poor who search through trash bins for leftover food. Both reflect the deep divide in society. People see that the poverty of the lower class isn't due to a lack of effort, but because wealth is systematically extracted and continually transferred to the Chinese Communist Party's elites and then sent overseas. High housing prices, monopolized resources, and heavy taxes drain the life savings of ordinary people. After the Communist Party's reforms, as China's GDP quickly rose to the top globally, the wealth gap widened at an alarming rate. Not only has this led to clear polarization, but the gap between rich and poor has also grown drastically. Currently, China has the fastest growing wealth gap in the world. The growing wealth gap in China has many causes and is complex. If we compare society's wealth to a cake, the problem of wealth disparity is really about how the cake is divided. It's clear that both the rich and the poor are fighting for the same cake. The wealth gap grows because the share given to the poor has gotten smaller, while the share for the rich has increased. One reason for this problem is the distribution system. To be more specific, when power controls the distribution of wealth, decisions are made based on power, not fairness. Redistribution becomes meaningless, and capital and power are closely connected. This leaves the working class completely excluded from wealth generation. Recently, a vlogger on TikTok criticized China's growing wealth gap and unfair distribution.
We all know it's hard to make money, right? Let me show you the wealth distribution in China. China's total assets are 790 trillion yuan. State-owned enterprises hold 360 trillion, and the wealthy, those top billionaires, control 260 trillion. So, state-owned enterprises and the big bosses own 81% of the wealth. The remaining 13% goes to the middle class, the business people. Can you follow? State-owned enterprises and big businesses hold 97% of the wealth in this country. If you're not in those categories, like us, flexible workers or farmers, there are about 1 billion of us fighting for just 3%. Tell me, how can we not struggle? How can we even make money? Now you see why we work so hard and yet we can barely make ends meet. This is a reality of China's wealth distribution. The government and capital hold most of the economic power, and the share left for laborers is tiny. They talk about stimulating consumption, but the truth is, people just don't have the money to spend, and they can't make any either.
The structure of wealth distribution is based on the power structure. Behind the wealth gap is a power gap. China's elites are rich because they control power, while ordinary citizens are poor because they've been stripped of it. In short, the Chinese Communist Party's elite class controls China's extractive system, which inevitably leads to the wealth gap. In this system, the economy is tightly controlled by the party, and the government faces no checks or accountability from the people. Power becomes the main tool for wealth distribution. As a result, wealth flows into the pockets of officials and rent seekers. The elite class has created a hidden but efficient channel for wealth by monopolizing scarce resources. Land, minerals, credit, licenses, stock listings, and major projects, resources that should be auctioned off in the open, are tightly controlled by the government. According to the Ministry of Natural Resources in 2024, land transfer fees across the country have exceeded 60 trillion yuan. This money essentially takes future housing costs from residents and turns them into immediate cash flow, benefiting local businesses rather than public services. The coexistent corruption between state-owned enterprises and private-listed companies has intensified wealth concentration. On the surface, state-owned enterprises are owned by the people, but their leadership, project contracts, and compensation are all controlled by the Communist Party's organization departments and the State-Owned Asset Supervision and Administration Commission. In 2023, an audit found that 18 central SOEs had problems amounting to over 100 billion yuan, much of it due to improper decisions leading to state asset losses. Private companies that want to grow must embed themselves in this network of power. To list, they need approval from the Securities Regulation Commission. To acquire land, they need approval from the Planning Bureau. To get loans, they need signatures from bank presidents. As a result, true entrepreneurs are pushed to the margins, and those who make it onto the Who Run Rich list are often not the most skilled or innovative, but those who know how to work the system. What's worse, the working class has been systematically excluded from the wealth generation process. Over the past 20 years, the share of labor income in China's GDP has steadily dropped, from 56.9% in 2008 to 47.2% in 2023, while returns on capital have continued to rise. This means that for every 100 yuan of GDP produced, workers are getting less, while capital and power are getting more. The structural deprivation of the lower class is at the heart of the distribution problem. 1 billion ordinary people are fighting over just a small portion of the wealth. This isn't an exaggeration. The growing scale of corruption is the most direct measure of the imbalance of power. It used to be that embezzling millions was considered major corruption, but today it's common to see cases involving tens of millions, or even hundreds of millions and billions of yuan. In 2024 alone, the Communist Party's Central Commission for Discipline Inspection reported provincial and ministerial officials involved in over 100 billion yuan in corruption. Former Premier Wen Jiabao's 2012 statement that corruption is getting worse, and even involves senior leaders, is still widely quoted, not because it's outdated, but because corruption remains unresolved and institutionalized. Particularly troubling is the family corruption among fallen officials, turning power and state resources into family ATM machines. Through overseas migration, fleeing, and money laundering, they form a closed loop. This system has been in operation for decades, creating many invisible billionaires like Yang Lanlan. China is now seeing a flood of public anger, and this anger is no longer limited to isolated cases. It is now aimed at the Communist Party's elite class and the system itself. Although some view the apparent calm created by the CCP's heavy-handed stability measures as a symbol of stability, the reality is that youth unemployment and overall employment in China are both very high. Deep dissatisfaction among the lower class, the silencing of dissenters, and internal conflicts within the ruling class have long made CCP rule vulnerable. Stability maintenance has become the top priority, and in some years the spending on it has even surpassed military spending. There has been a view that the Communist Party's regime will collapse but not fall apart, but now it is facing the reality of collapse and inevitable downfall. As early as 20 years ago, Chinese economist He Qinglian predicted in her book, China's Trap, that China's political system would collapse if economic reforms didn't touch the political system. She argued that this would lead China into crony capitalism, making it impossible to follow a healthy and stable development path. She predicted that this would lead to a state of collapse but not falling apart, where China would face comprehensive failure in political, ecological, and social systems, but the regime would hold on for a while due to its control over resources. In 2025, these elements are rapidly coming together. The economy is in a downward spiral. The US-China trade war has escalated. GDP could be halved, and there are rumors of health issues and infighting among the leadership. The fiscal deficit could deplete Social Security by 2030. At the same time, external pressures, including the decoupling of supply chains and tensions in the Taiwan Strait, are making the situation worse. In 2025, China is entering the final stages of this prediction. Collapse is already set in, but the regime is holding on through high-pressure stability maintenance and external buffers. In October 2024, political analyst Wang He pointed out that with the economy in freefall and policies failing, collapse will definitely lead to downfall. It's just a matter of time. He said, China's economy is now plummeting, and relying on political coercion or policy support is no longer effective. The economy is falling faster than ever, and nothing can stop it. He added, extractive systems maintain a harsh order. As long as they can keep control and remain isolated from the outside world, they can survive like a zombie for some time. But if they interact with the outside world, they will decay immediately. Like North Korea, it needs special conditions to survive, and these conditions are now shaking. So as soon as there's interaction with the outside world, it will inevitably collapse.